Hello everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Tekken 6. In the last episode, we've encountered some more veteran fighters in Tekken 6, including Paul Phoenix Martial Law, Steve Fox, Ling Xiaoyu and her pet panda, and Baek Doosan. We're not very far into the scenario campaign mode yet, and we still haven't gotten any brief details about the Mishima Zaibatsu's plan and how are they going to execute it. Also, we saw Jin Kazama in a cutscene with a mysterious woman in an ancient temple, still trying to warn Jin about the chaos and destruction to the world, and she still blames him for his actions. But somehow, Jin knew about the mythical beast named Azazel that was held in the ancient temple, but with no explanation. There has to be a reason why Jin arrives there in the ancient temple, and what does that situation have to do with the war between the Mishima Zaibatsu and the G Corporation? Well, we're not going to find that out till we enter the gameplay, so without further ado, let's go! Our next destination is the Industrial Highway 357. You can guess who our next target is since we fought Baek at the West Coast Canal Industrial Complex. Also, this is another level with a stage transition where you enter one section in the level and then into the boss's summit. Can you pinpoint their leader's location?
Negative. I am detecting numerous bio readings, but I have insufficient data to lock down a location.
So much for a surgical strike. Guess we'll have to play rough. This level has a perpendicular pathway. When you reach to the end of the straight pathway, turn right and you'll warp yourself into the boss's summit. You'll see 5 wooden boxes at the end of the first half of the level, but you'll have a short amount of time to open one of them. I'll show you when we get there, but first we have to deal with these thugs in our pathway and from the right side out of the cargo. They're a little bit difficult to handle, and there are some thugs with firearms too. During your progression in this level, a few boats will rapidly shift through the shore on your left side with gunmen shooting at you. There's another boat that will stop in your location, and then more thugs will jump out of the boat and then attack you with no hesitation. I'm not joking. I lost a ton of health because these enemies are swarming at me. I'm very lucky that I survived from that fiasco, because I collected the chickens that the enemies dropped while being defeated. By me. Haha. If you're having a hard time completing this level or any other future levels, this is where the customization becomes mandatory. You might have to backtrack at some of the levels to do some grinding until you found certain items that increases your health gauge, or any other accessories that helps you during your scenario campaign mode. Speaking of accessories, I don't like the statistics from them during this scenario campaign mode. In the game, you have some cool outfits for each and every character, but it's all limited with just player 1 and player 2 outfits, in which they are both customizable. Whenever you collect those drop treasures with the costumes that increase your health gauge, for example, it might help you during your progression, but the accessory with that feature might be either obnoxious or out of place. It only depends on what he or she is wearing. It's like you're forced to wear that particular outfit, even though you dislike the costume, outfit, or accessory. You can switch and change costumes outside of scenario campaign mode, but in case you want to return to the scenario campaign mode even though you completed it, you have to change your costume again with the statistics. There's no presets in Tekken 6. A preset is a feature where you allow yourself to save different costumes for a certain character. In Tekken Tag Tournament 2, you can choose whatever costume you customize because the presets were added in the game. There are so many different costumes to choose from in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and you can color them manually with thorough colors. In Tekken 6, you can change colors for your costumes, but with a few chosen colors. Overall, this game emphasizes on the arcade and the story mode. So, if you want to play a Tekken game with all the freestyle customization and features with no statistics, then you should play Tekken Tag Tournament 2. If you want to play an adventure mode with Tekken characters, then Tekken 6 is a game for you. I'm so glad that those two games have some individuality between the two, meaning that those two games differentiate on what the fans wanted to see in a Tekken game. If there's a Tekken game I would recommend, I would say Tekken Tag Tournament 1, in case you're a new player who wanted to enter the franchise. I defeated the man named Bake. Guess that leaves you as the leader, right?
You defeated my master? I thought you were fighting against Mishima too.
That's what I've been told.
Oh, that's right. You lost your memory. Either way, I can't just let you go after what you've done.
Alright, so the boss that we're up against right now is Hwoarang, or Hwoarang, or however you pronounce his name. His first appearance was in Tekken 3, he's from Korea, and his fighting style is Taekwondo. So what's he doing in Tekken 6? Well, I'll tell you. Hwoarang succeeded in defeating Jin in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. However, in the next instant, the defeated Jin let out an inhuman roar and Hwoarang was thrown through the air by violent winds. Sprouting black wings, Jin stood before him, looking just like a devil. Extremely outmatched, Hwoarang or whatever his name is, he was prepared for death as he lost consciousness. When he awoke, he was in a hospital bed. After hearing about what happened from Baekdu-san, Hwoarang pushed away the nurse and quickly rushed to his teacher, begging for more training. After he left the hospital, Hwoarang trained with more vigor than ever before. Intent on defeating his former rival, he left for the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. Those of you who played Tekken 5 before, do you remember Hwoarang's ending? His ending is officially canon in the Tekken storyline. I'll show you the cutscene.
오늘도 정말 따분하군.
Yeah, since Hwoarang defeated Jin Kazama in Tekken 5, Jin transforms into Devil Jin moments later, and then retrieved his revenge on Hwoarang. They both fought off screen, but at least you all understand what happened in Hwoarang's ending. If you're still confused, then I would recommend you watch the history of Hwoarang or any of the Tekken characters that showed up in Tekken 6, just so you get the gist of the plot in the main storyline.
There you are. You sure you want to let him go?
제가 웃죠. 뭔가요?
All right. You need to come back. Kazuya will be at headquarters in a few days. That makes. For them, you mean.
じゃあ三島平八はそこに。
ああ、だが問題が一つ。かなりの数のシークレットサービス。それも元鉄拳衆が警護している。
そうか。分かったな。
また何か情報が入ったら連絡する。
頼む。彼女が戦闘用として開発されたことは間違いない。これまでの彼女の戦いが全て物語っている。
对了，那个女孩你认为怎么样？那可是非常危险的。
どうかしましたか？
いや、なんでもない。次の目的地の情報を教えてくれないか？
はい。これから向かう場所は市街地です。
The resistance leader carries stronger feelings of loyalty and fidelity for Jin Kazama than for the Mishima Zaibatsu. Acting on human emotion alone is erroneous for a faction leader. Lars may have the same defect.
Jin looks pretty cool with the motorcycle outfit and bike. Kinda reminds me of another Tekken character with a similar style. He rode a motorcycle too, and it's the one that I showed you before. He has orange hair, and he rode a motorcycle until this demon from above just literally destroyed the motorcycle with just one blast. Eh? Eh? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, before we proceed to the next levels above, let's tackle the mixed martial arts gym, or the Wild Kingdom in quotes.
We are within vicinity of the target.
Tell me, Alisa, are you really human?
Of course I am.
Okay. That's kind of a weird dialogue there. But enough about that. This level is by far the shortest level in the entire game. All you have to do is head to the intersection and turn right from your starting position. You can break the boxes that are straight ahead of you if you want. But don't forget about the enemies swarming at you. The enemies that are in front of the gym that was shown on the screen are waiting for you to approach there. Once you defeat them all, you'll then warp yourself into the boss's summit. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Once you warp yourself into the boss's summit, that counts as a checkpoint, meaning that you don't have to retry the entire level all over again. Unless you wanted to. What do you think you're doing here? We're looking for someone. Maybe you have some intel on him? Even if we did, we wouldn't tell you. Fair enough. You'll talk whether you like it or not. Charge! I'm just kidding. I just want to shout that out because King and Marduk used the double team charge attack at the beginning of the fight. Then they both began to evade pretty awkwardly, which is kind of funny to me. But anywho, this is King and his partner Craig Marduk. I'll start with King's bio because he's one of the staple characters throughout the entire Tekken series. So, King, the Jaguar Mexican wrestler that we've all known since the entire Tekken series. And when you see Tekken, King is bound to show up there, no doubt. His first appearance is in Tekken 1. He's from Mexico and his fighting style is pro wrestling. In the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, King faced Marduk in a grueling battle that ironically resulted in a friendship between the two after the fight. Upon returning from the ring, Marduk was ambushed by someone dressed as Armor King. King was furious and vowed to find the culprit, but was unsuccessful in his attempt. Well, there might be a bit of a spoiler here, but let's keep going. With the world engulfed in war, King all but gave up looking for Marduk's attacker when he received an invitation from Marduk to join him in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. If they both participated in the tournament, perhaps the Armor King imposter would appear once again. With that hope in his mind, King decided to take part in the contest. As for Craig Marduk, he's from Australia. His first appearance is in Tekken 4, and his fighting style is Valet Tudu. If I pronounced that name right, that is. Craig Marduk fought against King during the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. Although he lost, he and King had a friendly handshake after the match. Upon returning to his room, the lights suddenly went out and Marduk was attacked. When the lights came back on, he saw the suspected culprit, Armor King, whom Marduk thought he had finished off. Thereafter, the world became engulfed in war. At the peak of the global chaos, the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6 was announced. Marduk reasoned that if he entered the tournament, perhaps his attacker would appear. Along with his new ally, King, Marduk entered the contest to find his attacker. Welp, there's your spoiler there. According to Marduk's bio, this Armor King that was mentioned was the same one that appeared in Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. But nobody knows his true identity and why he showed up there in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. We won't know unless we enter his level, and then the bio will be revealed. By me, of course. Okay, let's return to the game and we'll enter Armor King's level.
Today we visited a mixed martial arts gym. The two co-owners, one of them not easily classified as human, were once bitter rivals. From enemies to allies, it would seem. But I am still detecting alarming levels of cortisol in the air.
Okay, so our next destination is the Lost Cemetery. And I guarantee you guys knew who the boss is going to be in this level. So, let's go!
Armor King assisted in the escape of G Corporation test subjects. He is seeking refuge up ahead.
That makes him a good guy in my book. I wonder why he hides his face.
I lack sufficient information to speculate.
I guess we'll just have to ask him in person. This level is very similar to Brian's level, but with a dark and gloomy color scheme. Yep, you just had to take Brian's level and then filter it with a fluorescent color. That's just the first part of the level. The second part of the level warps you into the boss's summit, which is an actual Tekken stage in the game. Just for the heads up, you'll come across some copy and pasted levels that you might wonder if the game kinda runs out of ideas for more level designs or something. But there's no need to worry about that, as long as the gameplay looks fun to play. It's not like some other game where it reused the same RPG dungeon maps throughout 3 to 4 games with no innovation, even in newer titles. I'm so glad Tekken 6 wasn't like that, because although they reused some levels in the scenario campaign mode, at least they were rearranged in different areas just a little bit, which is okay. As you may have noticed, I changed the filter off screen, and the level looks very similar to Brian's level. However, in Brian's level, the atmosphere has a greenish color scheme, kinda like a swamp area. Since I changed the filter in the Lost Cemetery, the whole area looks like a plain field with no color filter added into the setting. I wanted to keep the filter, but I just want to show you what happens if I turn the filter off. But anyway, you don't have to worry about this level, because there are a few enemies that will sprout out of the woods and then attack you. If you're having a hard time with them, there are some boxes you can break along the snake-like pathway. They have chickens and flamethrowers inside. Remember, use the flamethrower to keep your distance from the enemies, especially when you're running low on health. Well, that's just great. There's an invisible wall up ahead. That means we had to kill all the enemies along the way before reaching to the nearby area of the cemetery. Those two guys running in a screen just came out of nowhere, which is kinda funny. Well, you know what to do. You won't be able to warp into the boss's summon unless you kill the enemies here. Some friends of yours were looking for you.
You can't provoke me, and you don't interest me. Go home.
I'm going to find out why you're doing this, one way or another. So, Armor King. No idea where he came from, but he first appeared in Tekken 1 according to the player's guide, and his fighting style is pro wrestling. Armor King is a mysterious wrestler in a black jaguar mask and steel armor who disappeared after suddenly attacking Craig Marduk during the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. His true identity remains a mystery. If you want to learn more about Armor King, there are some links below the video if you want to check them out. The reason why I did that is because I don't want to enter myself into brief details about Armor King's true identity. Even if I do know his identity, I still wouldn't spoil it, because there are some Tekken players or non-Tekken players who wanted to figure it out for themselves, and I don't want to ruin that for them. But hey, some Tekken players or non-Tekken players are still wondering if this is the same Armor King as the one who appeared in the first game, and then showed up in Tekken 5 Resurrection and Tekken 6, or if this Armor King is an imposter. Who knows? Is the Armor King that showed up in Tekken 5 Resurrection and Tekken 6 a fake? Well, we won't be able to know unless you read his description from the links that I showed you below the video.
In a cemetery by the outskirts of the city, we came across a creature called Armor King. It would appear he and King and Marduk have a convoluted association, but time constraints prohibited us from investigating further.
Alright, now that Alisa's AI is leveled up to 5, she's going to be so much helpful throughout this new campaign mode. Yep, we're halfway there to reach the maximum level. Our next destination is right here, the 16th Archaeological Expeditions Excavation Site. Wow, that's a long title for a level. But anyway, let's go.
Warning! This cavern may collapse at any moment.
Maybe, but we can't just wait around here. Let's move.
Understood. Please tread carefully.
Will do. Before I explain to you about this level, I have to address something. The music track that was playing in this level is, well, kinda meh. I don't really too much care about the music track. It's fine, but, eh. There's a certain level in the game that utilizes this music track in a boss fight. But, I'm not gonna reveal that level just yet, because we're at pretty much 1/3 of the scenario campaign mode. I will, however, explain about why I rather use custom music for the entire campaign mode when we enter another certain level in this game. Well, enough about that for now. Let's talk about this area. In this level, the enemies, or the spelunkers, aren't much of a threat, and you already know how to beat them up, so there's no big deal about them. The main obstacle is the wooden boxes that fall from the ceiling. If they landed on both you and your partner, both of you will take a small chunk of damage. The fallen boxes will interrupt your combos on enemies, but you can avoid them very easily. When you see square-shaped shadows on the floor, all you have to do is dodge them immediately. I'm not sure if the enemies take damage from fallen boxes, and I haven't seen it happening when I played this game for the first time. Alisa warned you about the area collapsing, so be careful. The boxes can be fallen out of nowhere for no reason, and they act as an excuse of fallen debris or something. You better watch out for them boxes, or else they'll kill you. Yeah, what you just saw is Lars continuously kicking an enemy in the corner. It's possible that you can abuse points for doing that, which is very funny and enjoyable. Don't forget that you have a time limit at the top center of the screen, so don't spend too much time goofing off while your goal is to KO the boss at the end of the level. Tekken 6 introduces a new stage mechanic in the series called the floor break. In an actual Tekken match, you can use a bound attack, which is also a new mechanic in the game, to force your opponent into a ground bound state on a breakable floor. If done correctly, then the floor breaks and you can finish your combo on your opponent who took some chip damage when he or she fell on the floor. I actually like how this floor break mechanic transitions the fighters from one area into another. It's a little bit of a game changer, but it actually shows you a few different ways to combo your opponents dramatically. If you guys don't know what a bound attack is, I'll tell you. Tekken 6 introduces bound attacks as well as floor breaks. When you bound your opponent while juggling your combos, you spike him or her to wreathe on the ground for a moment into a ground bound state, and then you continue your combo, just like I said earlier when you're trying to perform a floor break. You can also force your opponent into a ground bound state by low parries and some throws. The parries occur rarely with Tekken players because they mostly block or avoid low attacks in order to prevent themselves from taking damage. Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2 are the only games that have a bound mechanic. However, in Tekken 7, the bound attacks are toned down a bit. Instead, the characters have a flying staggering knockdown move where it's similar to a ground bounce, but without spiking your opponent on the ground. The bound attacks aren't very crucial as they were back in the previous two games, but at least Tekken 7 was pretty innovative when it comes to introducing some new mechanics and features.
What did you idiots just do?
Relax, I only want to talk.
That fall could have killed me. You've got a lot of nerve.
So, we've come across Leo, one of the new characters in Tekken 6. And boy, there are so many controversies upon Leo's gender. In Tekken 6 and 7, Leo's a boy, but in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Leo's a girl. According to my theory, the male Leo is officially canon, while the female Leo is created for the fans, as if some people have a different point of view of Leo being a girl. So what is Leo doing in Tekken 6? Well, here's his description. He's from Germany and his fighting style is Bai Quan, if I pronounced that name right. Leo was part of a very talented family. His father was a world-famous spelunker while his mother served as a G Corporation executive. Although Leo's father disappeared during an expedition when Leo was a child, Leo still wanted to follow in the family tradition and become a spelunker. Leo possessed a strong sense of character, thanks to a proper upbringing. Life was pleasant and relatively uneventful until one fateful day, when Leo's mother was killed by an unknown assailant. Depressed and filled with grief, Leo became incensed when the police called off their investigation quickly and without explanation. Leo vowed to find the truth. During Leo's own investigation, the G Corporation's Kazuya Mishima materialized as a person of interest. The G Corporation was popularized at the time as a world hero, making it difficult to get close to Kazuya, and it looked as though Leo's quest had reached an insurmountable impasse. It was at this time that the news of the Mishima Saibatsu sponsored the King of Iron Fist tournament began to spread. Leo learned that Kazuya Mishima was scheduled to appear in person at the event. Realizing that this may be the only chance of taking revenge against Kazuya, Leo decided to enter the contest.
The path north was blockaded, so we took a detour via the ruined excavation site. Those nearby were upset when I damaged the ground while passing through. We were unable to obtain some data on the G Corporation thanks to the explorer we met inside the cave. It would seem the G Corporation is being threatened by a Kazuya Mishima. My logic circuits tell me he may have some connection to the Mishima Zaibatsu.
After you accomplish the entire scenario campaign mode, return to Leo's stage and clear it again on any difficulty to unlock a secret stage. Our next destination is the North Nature Park, and you already know what boss we're gonna fight next, just because of the title of the stage. Kuma, why are we looking for a bear?
The bear in question was once a candidate to head the Mishima Zaibatsu.
A bear running in Zaibatsu? Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know!
Quite a legitimate question if you ask me, but you know what they say when it comes to video games. Anything goes, especially if the game's genre is fiction. Anyway, this level is still a similar copy-paste atmosphere to Brian's level, but this time the enemies are cubs. A cub is a little bear that is considered to be a child. There are a bunch of cubs sitting on the ground, and you can only attack them with some overheads and low attacks. If you rely on just high attacks during your progression, well guess what? You're gonna have to change your attack pattern so you can KO these cubs. They can jab you whether they're sitting, crouching, or crawling on the ground. You can find some crowbars in the crates in case you don't want to waste time fighting them barehanded. Pun intended. Remember, these crowbars are limited on each use. Even if you miss or connect your attack, that still counts as a use. and once that number of uses with the crowbar runs out, it'll disappear. If you get attacked, you'll be forced to drop the weapon that you're holding, so please be careful. And that's just it for this level. There's not really much going on here except whacking on cubs and boxes. We're at halfway through the level and you'll face a boss bear at the end. Yup, you fought the little ones and now you'll fight the big one, aka the head honcho in this level. The faster way to take him out is to carry the crowbar at the end, and then just keep on whacking. The cubs will pop out after the boss's conversation. Just letting you know. Alright, so now we can take on the boss. After you defeat all the cubs, or for now, return to where you found the abandoned crowbar on the ground. Grab it and then head into the boss's summit. That way, the boss fight will be a bit easier to KO the cubs popping out of the summit, including the boss himself. Do you really understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
Okay, if you know something, anything about Jin Kazama, I would appreciate you sharing it with us.
You'll have to earn that information.
Figures. This is Heihachi's pet Kuma. Not a Kuma, not a Kuma, just Kuma. He's a grizzly bear who appears in the very first Tekken game. No idea where he came from, but his fighting style is the Heihachi style advanced Kuma Shinken. Shayu's pet Panda, the one that we saw in the Mishima Polytechnic, is the clone character to Kuma. They have a similar moveset, but different stories. So what is Kuma doing in Tekken 6? Well, I'll read it to you. Kuma barely lost to Paul in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. Since the death of his master, Heihachi Mishima, Kuma was convinced that he was the only one who can save the Mishima Saibatsu. With great resolve, he set out for the Mishima Zaibatsu headquarters, only to find Jin Kazama, the new leader of the Zaibatsu, waiting there for him. Jin unleashed a pummeling against Kuma, then dropped him from a helicopter into the plains of Hokkaido. Despite the tremendous fall, Kuma survived and traversed the vast plains in search of the Mishima Zaibatsu headquarters. This time, he was determined to defeat Jin and take his place as the rightful successor at the Mishima Zaibatsu. Well, I guess that settles it then. If a bear can do it, anybody can do it. Well, taking over the Mishima Zaibatsu, of course, but as soon as Heihachi's alive, he's gonna take it back.
Encountered an anomaly in nature, a bear capable of communication with humans. I once read of a talking wolf in a fairy tale, but now there is evidence that the story may hold factual information. I will have to investigate the matter further if I happen across a wolf.
Our next destination is the Aranami Stable, which is a training area for sumo wrestlers. Obviously, the boss in that level is a sumo wrestler. Wonder who that could be. Also, there's something about this stage that I have to tell you about, and it's not the entire layout of the level that's a copy-paste level of the Mishima Polytechnic. Now we're off to some sumo chow peddler?
Correction, he is a formidable threat who is discharged from the sumo world. We must proceed with caution.
Sounds like he has his reasons. Alright, let's be careful. I like it how the sumo wrestlers are rolling down the streets while chanting. It's so funny. By the way, before I explain to you about this level, there's something that I need to bring up. Listen to this music track from the Hwoarang stable that was playing in the background. Good God, what the heck am I listening to? Look, I'm sorry, but to me, that's the worst music track I've ever listened to in Tekken 6. It's so lazy that it forces you to cringe yourself. It's that bad. What's worse is that this is the same music track that was playing during the boss fight with Kuma the Bear. The reason why I chose to play my own custom music in a scenario campaign mode with another character is because some of the music tracks are either out of place in some levels or too lazy. The music tracks are far more enjoyable in the arcade mode than the music tracks in the scenario campaign mode. That's just sad. I wanted to enjoy this game entirely, but when you hear the music like this in the Hwoarang stable, you just want to get the heck out of there because listening to it was so frustrating that you just had to rush through the entire level instead of exploring it. But hey, you can just go to the options menu outside the level and then mute the music by turning the volume down. Maybe that'll help. I already posted my other playthrough with Julia Chang in the scenario campaign mode, along with my voiceovers and some custom music. If you want to check it out, that's fine. Overall, the music in the scenario campaign mode is completely average. Half of the music tracks are the ones that you wanted to listen to, but the other half is, well, meh. They're not really that memorable. When you think of the Tekken 6 soundtrack, you'll remember just a few of the tracks. And that's it. You'll never remember what Ganryu's stage sounds like in the scenario campaign mode because the music in that level sounds terrible. Just wait until at the end of the game. It gets worse. And I'm not just talking about the level itself. It's the music that was chosen when you're fighting the final boss of the game. But we'll get to that later. Right now, let's return to the game before I start losing my mind. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this level. You'll come across a bunch of sumo wrestlers that'll slam you, charge at you, or thrust you with their palms. They're heavy hitters that deal major damage to you and your partner. There's nothing to worry about here. The sumo wrestlers are exclusive enemies in this level. And speaking of sumo wrestlers, Ganryu will pop out of bounds twice and then try to attack you. You can actually kill Ganryu either at 1/3 or 2/3 away from his summit, and then the level/stage will be completed. That would be fun, but I still had to reveal the conversation between Lars and Ganryu. There's also these ninja looking foes in black suits and hats that can attack and dodge you. Both the ninjas and the sumo wrestlers are no joke if you're not careful. If Ganryu's health gauge is nearly at half, he'll escape at top speed. Likewise, his health will be at max when you encounter him again. do you remember that roadblock that was in the Mishima Polytechnic when we encountered Xiaoyu and her pet panda? Well, guess what? There's your nostalgia. This level reveals that pathway in the intersection. Well, what do you know? I guess these copy-paste levels kinda reveal most of the levels for exploration purposes. But unfortunately, the scenario campaign mode is the Tekken Force in this game, meaning that it wasn't meant for exploration. You just had to proceed from point A to point B, aka head to the goal, beat up some enemies, and then defeat the boss. That's it. In this pathway that we're on right now, you'll come across 6 sumo wrestlers. In the first phase, 2 sumo wrestlers will chase you while thrusting their arms around, until they hit you. In the second phase, there are 2 more sumo wrestlers who are at their stances, and when you approach them, they'll charge at you. In the third phase, the final 2 sumo wrestlers are act as a roadblock and they're stomping on the ground for no reason, so just get rid of them. Ganryu will pop out once again just to attack you. Like before, when he's at half health, he'll escape again. He'll just ram into that wall that was straight ahead of you and then enter his summon where you can fight him without any delays. Yup, that was my favorite moment in this level where Ganryu ran himself into a wall and then broke through it like some sort of Looney Tunes cartoon. It's so funny. We got a boss fight coming up, right after we take care of these enemies.
You've come a long way.
We finally caught you. I'm impressed a big guy like you managed to run so far.
In the entire history of sumo, only 69 masters have risen to the rank of Yokozuna. I will now demonstrate what it takes to get there.
So, Ganryu. His first appearance is in the very first Tekken game. He's considered to be an equivalent to E Honda from the Street Fighter series. He's from Japan, and his fighting style is sumo wrestling. So what's Ganryu doing in Tekken 6? Well, I'll read it to you. During the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, Ganryu lost his way and stumbled upon the Mishima Saibatsu's laboratories. Within them, he found a disk containing research data concerning a reforestation program. He hoped Julia would agree to marry him if he bought her the data, and he proposed to her. However, Julia turned on him and left with the disc. After that, Ganryu returned to Hawaii and opened a restaurant called the Chanko Paradise. But the restaurant did not do well, and Ganryu found himself in financial distress. It was then that he discovered news of another King of Iron Fist tournament. He decided to participate in the tournament in order to advertise his restaurant, Chanko Paradise.
I can't thank you enough. With this, I'll be able to bring back the forest.
それはそれとして、実はでごわすな。おいどもは、ジュリアちゃんのことを好きになってしまったでごわす。Julia Chang.
Yeah, that actually happened. Julia was like, "I'll take that, thank you." And then she just ran off with the disc. She didn't notice Ganryu at all. Except when she thanks him, of course. But that's just it. The funny thing about that cutscene is that, according to the player's guide, it's actually canon. So now you know what Ganryu was doing over the past few years. He went to Hawaii, opened up his own restaurant called the Tropical Paradise, even though it didn't go so well. And, well, you know the rest.
I met a Japanese wrestler for the first time today. He claimed he had reached the level of Grand Champion, but I found no matching data during my search. Fabrications are futile.
And that concludes episode 5 of Tekken 6. In the next episode, we'll finally get to meet Heihachi Mishima. But first, we have to enter the secret underground passage, which is one of the coolest looking levels in the game. We're nearly halfway done with the Snare campaign mode, but we still haven't figured out why Jin created this war to begin with. What's its objective? Not to worry everyone, I just hope that everything in the future episodes will be answered. Sort of. We'll never know until we get there. Alright, I'll see you guys later.